The utmost adventurer, everyone. It is now officially a Highbanker. Chris and myself just spent the last, I guess this is day 7 of probably like 10 to 13 hour days. Remember staying up till about 2:30 in the morning once, working on Illustrator, making a DXF file to get laser printed for the legs. And it took that much time to build one. The reason it took that much time is we've kind of built a factory. So in order to get everything nice and consistent, we've got a template for every part. So this is our template right here, and I'm using a Welding tungsten as a scribe so I can scribe the line. We've got a place here to scribe where all of the bends happen. So each one of those bend lines is what is going to get bent up on this brake. We've got this nice little table here with various shims we set on the table to get all the angles exact. And this entire tray here is all of the different templates for all of the different pieces that we're going to be working with. So that allows us, right here, this is just tacked right now, but this line is a very nice tight fit. And that means that even somebody who isn't the best welder in the world, like myself, can get a really nice weld on all of these parts because everything fits together really, really well. So from this point forwards, I'm hoping that we'll be able to actually put some, volume behind us of Highbankers and get some ready for you guys. So I'll just sort of check in intermittently throughout this process, and this will be the Highbanker build video. We've been chatting and we've determined this is no longer the shop. This is not my garage. It's definitely not my house. This is a factory. And that way, I'm living on the factory floor, like Elon Musk. And for those of you who wish that Utmost Outdoors was a highly successful person, well, I've got the corner office. So I'm like, both like grassroots, toughing it out, financial difficulties, living in my shop, and I've got the corner office. And this is piece number 6 of 6 of this production run of 6. So it goes up to Chris for the finishing, and I'll grab the next template now. Swap template A, the main sluice template, created on October 17th, 2023. This one goes up back on the shelf. I grab the next one, and we do another 6 of those, and so on and so forth. Gotta take your breaks, right? So, this beautiful stack, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, exactly cut based on a template. These are going to be bent up into the main sluice box, and as you can see here, it's rolled around. We've got very specific angles so that this comes down, that goes up, and everything just sits together really nicely. And on our template, which is over here, this shows the bends. So we know that this is bend 1, and we bend it to the tabletop, jaws to center. We'll show you what that means in a second. Put this baby to use. Jaws to center, so the jaws are going back to the center here. Certain bends, we have to have the whole piece out here just to make everything work. So I'm gonna get this locked in. And when this guy touches that table, that's when I know I've hit the right angle. So on the template, it says bend to tabletop. Okay, bend 3, still jaws to center, but this time I need a shim stack 6 inches to tabletop. Slide her on out. Ready for bend number 4. I can already tell with a little bit of repeated practice that I'm getting better at lining up the lines as I clamp it down. Here is the bend to get ourselves a trough. Just a tap. There you have it. This is our main box trough, and it's bent exactly to a 5-degree out angle. The reason I'm doing that is so that when we're taking advantage of using expanded over miner's moss, the riffle tray can pop up and out, and it loosens as you pop it up. So it's just a little bit nicer for the end user to use this whole system. But getting that dialed the first time to make everything perfectly line up with this definitely took some effort. It's really nice to see that the first box is ready to go just like that. Time to go do 5 more of these. That is the end of day 1. It was only a half day. Went and got some materials this morning, but it's starting to add up, and I mean, I'm excited to actually get these things built. Things just got real. That's where I'm keeping the metal, and it's definitely good gold mining weather. Not exactly what I was hoping for, but after building these, the plan is still to head out to the river and do one final trip. We'll have a hot tent, but it'll be interesting. Definitely helps having those bolts, but it still takes a bit of effort.
Yeah. Why would you even go to the gym anymore, Kyle? You just bend sheet metal.
Because the gym has a shower and a steam room, and I live in my garage.
Maybe.
All right, time for me to head up to the gym, get a little workout in, maybe focus on that back since I'm being bent over all day, shower, steam room, and then get a really good night's sleep on the factory floor. Get that simmering away here while I get changed. A little ravioli with some added turkey that I made yesterday. I guess why use a bowl? It's just, you know, extra dishes when you're living the bachelor lifestyle. and your cooking facilities include your garage, I'll just eat straight out of this. For leftover cooking from yesterday, that extra little bit of turkey in there, this ravioli is fantastic. Amazing how hard days work makes food that much more delicious. Alright, see you when you get back. This sure is handy. Oh my. Winter Wonderland. Better be some liquid water left to test this Highbanker out. Okay. Come bearing treats. A little salad, so I can argue that I'm kind of healthy. Of course, a refill for my water. Yeah, this isn't a food channel, so I'll just snap ahead to tomorrow. But I'll eat well tonight. There you go. Now I turned on my video camera so I can video myself putting my milk back into the fridge. And then I can take this and I can just like walk over here. Oh, haven't even opened this milk yet. That's how you can tell it wasn't staged, you know? This is like garage life happening right in front of your eyes. I bought like a new mini thing of protein at Super Store last night because I was like, you know, I don't need Costco anymore. It'd be too much before I fly out, and I got strawberry, and it's very delicious.
Nice. Nice. That's good.
2 more to bend. I'll get working on, I guess, jigsawing, and if you want. End of another long day. I'm just busy tracing out these templates here. That is the last template. I have to make 3 more of these, but we've got everything that's done, sanded, bent, ready. Like all of these have this little subtle 30-degree on the break, which is probably a 25-degree bend by the time it's like balanced out. These little boxes are for the water to flow through from the top level to the bottom level. But yeah, that's all it. Just working on making 6 more of these a reality. How was the day, Chris?
Yeah, good.
Good day.
Good day.
Yeah, you better go grab dinner before you get in trouble. Yeah. And thanks again. We'll kick this off tomorrow.
Yeah. Another day tomorrow.
Another day tomorrow. Yeah, I showed you a little bit of the workflow for the first bit of the day there, but you know, it's going to be a long process doing this, so can't show you every single step along the way. But hopefully I can spend 1 more hour until I got to get out of here before the gym closes and everything, but I can spend 1 more hour just sort of getting these last bits done, and then tomorrow I can finish off anything and it'll be time to actually start assembling everything so we can show the assembly bits. And we've got a bunch of jigs up here to hold everything together. So yeah, that's it for the build for today. Remembering breakfast today. Got a little pizza bun here. This little waffle maker does a fantastic job. It doesn't stick. Making a single egg there. Gotta start the day off right. I've been skipping breakfast too often. It's always really tempting to want to finish a project when you're working on it, but for these multi-day things, I've heard that in creative writing, it's really good to actually just stop halfway through a paragraph. And then when you get back in it the next time, rather than, having a completed paragraph and just sitting there with a brain block of what do I do, oh, that was the paragraph I'm working on. I'll just finish writing that, and it puts you into that mode of work. And this is a little bit different. It's just sort of production of metal, but you still sit there and you're like, okay, which piece comes next? What do I do? So in this case, we're making these, and the last one isn't done. So it makes it pretty simple when my brain isn't dialed in to start yet. It's first thing in the morning, and I just got to get going here. Well, I'm just gonna get this one done like those ones, and then that sort of gets the ball moving, and then I can, carry on with the next parts. So this is how I'm going to begin the day. This should become this end assembly right here. And I'll sort of get this jigged up to tack weld into place. This is a pop can completely full of lead, so it's got a lot of weight. And that's just pressing this along the bottom. And I'm going to make a tack right here and right here on each side. Here's a little template that's held down. This is at the exact angle the box needs to be at to make sure that it's not slightly cockeyed. And the whole thing, this is 90 degrees to the workpiece, and it's held up on this end as well. This workbench, when I installed it, I put a level on it. So even though the concrete is not perfectly level, the workbench is. So it's not going to be twisted or anything, because every time you put an end onto your sluice, it sort of stays where you weld it. So we want this to be as straight as possible so that the end product is as straight as possible. So at this point, I've got a fresh tungsten in the TIG torch there, and I will have both hands available, one for filler wire, one for the torch, and I'll put those little tacks, and then we're going to flip this thing upside down, and that's where I use this, not that one, this one, very slight different lengths, but this one here, it just tucks into that corner there, and I can clamp it, and then the back piece and the bottom piece are both right up tight against that, and I will tack along the bottom there after. For now, let's get this tacked up. This is my TIG welder. This cost about $1,000. It's a very entry-level machine, but it does everything that you would need it to do. I've welded my boat up with this, and I built an aluminum boat from scratch with this. That's how I taught myself to weld. This one right here controls your amps, and so if it's 0.64 of an inch, you would typically run around here, but I'm just going to give myself a little bit of extra juice here because I'm tacking, so I want to put a little extra heat on the spot, and I'm not doing a full length weld. Don't need to know all the rest of this. This isn't a welding channel, but essentially I'm on alternating current for aluminum. I'm running 100% pure argon out of that bottle, and 1 foot stands on this pedal right here. So when I start the pedal, then over on this screen, you'll see a lower number. And then when I put the pedal right to the floor, it maxes out at that setting right now, which is 74 amps. Then with my left hand or right hand, sometimes you got to learn to do this right-handed or left-handed. This basically just shoots heat at this. There's a little arc that goes across and melts a puddle. And that's all it does. It just melts. And then in your final hand, you need a piece of filler wire. I store my filler right here. So this is something that requires 2 hands. If you just try to weld this together with a little puddle, it's really hard to get the aluminum to actually like go across without adding a little dap of filler. And as far as the alloys are concerned, different fillers have different alloys in them compared to this metal. And so a welded metal needs to be a mixture of this base metal, which is 50-52, and this filler rod, and it prevents it from cracking. So every time you do a tack, you just add a little touch of filler, and that's what I'm doing. So you've got your foot going on to control the amperage. This hand basically holds this, and this hand does the other. Now, once you've got everything sort of set up, if you can rest your hand on a surface and basically just control like this, it's easy. What makes TIG welding really hard is if you're not in a good position and you can't like rest your elbow on something. So if I have my elbow down here, then my hand, there's a little more movement. Whereas if I can rest my hand on something, I'm a little more precise. If you can't rest anything and you're just trying to go like this, it gets really, really difficult. So that's when you're upside down or underneath something, it's way nicer to have a MIG. But the TIG is capable of dealing with this really thin metal. The thinner the aluminum, the harder it is to weld, which is why I pretty much have to use the TIG. And it does do a really nice clean job. And because I'm able to sort of set everything up and get myself nice and stable, that's how I'm actually able to make my welds look somewhat clean. I don't promise you guys beautiful, clean, professional welds. We are self-taught welders, but they're all very nice and structural. Hit them with a hammer, they won't come apart, that kind of thing. Just thought I'd give you a little idea what's going on with the whole TIG welder process. So there's all my stitches, and there's sort of how a weld works out. It looks pretty, at least. Two down, 4 to go. Four down, 2 to go. Got this down to a bit of a science here. So I prop this end up a little bit to make sure that this end is nice and down like this. This jig here gets clamped nice and tight. Pull these edges in, make sure that is right airtight all the way around where I want it. This sits down. Find if I clamp at the bottom here, then it pushes right tight to the bottom. I do my bottom tacks. And then if for some reason the top is out slightly, then I clamp this flat and sort of pulls that in. So I do my tack, 3 tacks down the side, and then I flip it to do the bottom. I'll show you what I do for that. I put this bottom piece in and then the top piece, and there's a piece across the bottom as well. So it fully sandwiches from side to side. And then once this is tight, I just tap this into the end a little bit to make sure it's right up there. And I just tip this upside down, flat and level on that end, flat and level on this end. And then if I weld from right to left, I'm anchoring this hand on this surface. So if I go from left to right, then it burns my hand because I've got it hot as I go. So I go this way, and this is number 5 out of 6, and it's just coming together a lot better with experience. Number 6 of 6. So I could stack it up down there, but instead, it's time to do the next step, starting with this box. All clamped up. This holds these apart perfectly. This is exactly the length for the top part to bolt through, so that little pinhole is where we're going to actually bolt through. So I make sure this is square and exactly the right width. And I just played around with one of these welds here, and it looks like I'm getting her figured out here. And that is now ready to head down to the pile. This is the first one of 6. So that's the 6 out of 6. This one took me about 25 minutes to do. My record was 9 minutes, just sort of depending on my process. But overall, they're all beautiful, they're nice. And in theory, 6 of these trays will get fronts and everything, but they should slide in. Lots of room. That's perfect. And over here, like a glove. So the factory is within tolerances. I think this is the end of day, I don't remember where we are, but that is a good place to finish up. This is the insert box, and these are basically what splits the water. So the water pours off in a solid sheet, and then some of the water goes through this hole, that edge, and this edge, and then 50% of the water dumps straight inside of this and inside of that, and winds up in the bottom side. And so that way, when this hits the bottom, it kind of spreads in all directions and gives a nice even flow down the sluice. And so in the top sluice, that's where I split it up into 3 runs to have a little bit more even flow. Welding this is tricky. So it's a really nice tight fit, and I've welded the bottom, and it's actually looking really, really good. But this is sort of the jig I figured out. The top of the box is just a little bend like this, so it nests into the head of the other box really nicely. But I've got a nice heat soak here and here so that this doesn't get all warpy. And I basically just come in at a angle here, and I weld up this little inside edge and that little inside edge on all of these, and I leave it unwelded down the back here because nothing's going to go down there. And then the full bottom, I actually have it flipped upside down to weld everything there. So everything's just tacked at this point, but over here the first 4 are done, and with varying levels of difficulty. I think one of these took me like an hour and a half to just get the jigs all figured out, but it's a little bit better now. And you can see the tops, basically I've just sort of wrapped those with the weld all along there. I still need to do complete all the welding. It's just sort of tacked right now, but that's the current progress. Definitely making a dent on the parts table there, and putting this little belt sander to use. These little pieces will be cut up on a chop saw later. You'll see how that all works. But yeah, just lots of parts and pieces going on, and it's working well. Nice, dude. I'm actually getting that dialed.
Yeah.
Tips of filler wire, if you touch them to your neck immediately after welding, are not pleasant.
Yeah. I remember touching them.
Tungsten?
Tungsten.
I touched it on my leg once.
That's what I did.
Yeah, made a nice
I
hole.
sat down and I put it over my leg and burned through my pants and into my leg. I was like, ah!
Oh yeah, no, that's brutal. I'll have a little welt on my neck now.
Yeah.
Blood, sweat, but no tears on camera yet.
Yeah.
Alright.
Good morning. Next day, I am becoming a Weet-Bix kid. For all you Canadians, these are Weet-Bix. And they will make me invincible to snakes and spiders and the such. Because how else would Australians survive? Apparently, the strategy is the Weet-Bix don't use up all the milk, so then you have to add another Weet-Bix, which uses up all the milk, and you need to add more milk, and then you have to add more Weet-Bix, and so on. And then you get a full belly of Weet-Bix. This is my little legs package, and you've seen something that looks like this before, but these and these, which are very slightly different, these are going to be the hold-ins for the expanded metal to keep the mats in place. So see if you can figure out how that's going to work. But this is going to be a threaded hole. This is just a spacer washer, and there's going to be a little bolt that basically just inserts in from the side. So yeah, I think this will work pretty good. This little package, and you do smaller quantities especially, but even then, that's like $325. Not for 2.5 Highbankers. There's the shovel hopper all tacked up. It's a real nice tight fitment there, and there's a very nice clean weld. I can't say it looks like a machine did it in a factory, but I'll get better. Looks like you made a bit of a mess there, Chris.
Yeah.
Lots of cutting dust, and all of these beautiful parts here were the result of that chop saw run. This guy is a dream worker. And here we've got your 5 and the very final one right here. There you go, you got some good welds. So that's basically the target for shoveling into. Still a little warm. There'll be a nice wear plate in the bottom here. And that wear plate, it's going to be like miner's moss, of course. And right here, that is beautiful stainless steel, stupidly hard and strong stuff. And it's got a good profile there to sort of hold on to stuff real nice as well. So I think that's going to work beautifully. It's an expensive upgrade, but it was the last part that could rust on the box, so moving that to stainless. So it's sitting up on top of these just to hold it totally level in case some of these welds stick down to the bottom. And then these hold this piece at the right height. This all clamps together. And then I can set the thing up like this. Now I can weld along here, move the clamp to this edge, weld here, weld there, and I'm tacking everything together. What do you got going on here?
We got the punch factory.
All right, let's see it.
We take unpunched pieces or undrilled pieces, put template on top, pull this way, push that way. Everything's lined up. Punch holes. Perfect match every time.
There you go, and then you just drill those out and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Works.
But quite a few of those, apparently.
Got a few.
These are coming along. And yeah, just gotta weld everything up now. It's actually like really stiff, just the way it's held up here and then comes down inside. Like before this ends welded, this sort of has a bit of flex, but this is like a solid unit. And I just sort of want to show you why we're doing all of this. So this makes sense because it's a nice hopper, it adds strength, it looks good, and when the water sprays, it hits this. If I had this lead out in this direction, I could avoid welding the bottom altogether. I could do that on the brake. But when you bring it in like this, you have to weld this bottom on. And I wanted that so the water recirculates around up here. And then this part here, it takes a lot of extra welding to do that, right? So that's obviously, it's gonna bring up the price, because the simplest thing to do is just drill a hole here and put a wing nut in with a bolt. And if you ever want to change the height of your Highbanker, you have different holes that you put it in. But I don't like having to do that every time. So just follow me around here. I'll show you what this is actually accomplishing. So this piece that we put that extra effort into allows this to work. So Highbanker's down, and instead of any wing bolts or nuts or anything, this stays here permanently, never moves. You just lift this up, slide this into place. Not only that, but if this is fully set up and it's full of material and you just want to move it 8 feet over to the next spot, you don't have to worry about wing nuts. You can still pick the whole thing up. You can shoulder the whole thing. It's fully attached and together until you're done with it. It just slides right back down. So that level of convenience might not matter to all people, but I wanted to go above and beyond and make this the utmost adventurer. And that is why we put so much effort into details like this. Even starting to get the welds looking pretty nice in areas like this. So I'm happy with how this turned out, and I think that this is worth the extra effort to do because it's something that really sets this thing apart. Well, Chris, it is 9:30 p.m. We put in a big Friday and got a fair bit of progress coming along here. These assemblies, been welding up a couple of these guys. These are both fully welded, and then I'm working on this. And of course, this one is a weld in progress. But yeah, I don't know. It was a long day. There's a fair bit of work done today, but it's, you know, it's chipping along, and I guess I'm gonna sharpen a bunch of tungstens because I keep, you know, like if you're doing this much welding, unless your hands are perfectly stable, you're gonna dip a tungsten every once in a while. But yeah, a little bit of prep for tomorrow, and then right back to it tomorrow again. Yeah. Chris has his little workstation over there, and then this is my little weld station over here. Welding this thicker material is quite the treat. It's a little bit different because you really get used to what you're working with, but man, is welding thicker aluminum easy in comparison. This is the cross brace support for the bottom of the box, and the purpose it serves, if you come over here, see some progress happening, is this piece right here. If you look underneath here, so there's a flat surface, and I want to put a bubble level on all 4 sides of this box so you can always see that bubble level. So I can glue the bubble level under here and it'll be protected from the top side. But the other purpose of this crossbar is to keep the box nice and stiff here, because with the legs sticking out the side, the sides of the box can flex a little bit. And so this doubles as a brace for that. And before you put this on, you can pick up a corner of the box that has a little flex. After this, it's like very stiff, like you could almost have a single leg at the bottom. And then it also gives us a mounting point for this in order to, you know, hold the top and fold down there, and everything just sort of fits together really well. So that is what that component is for. And yeah, we're getting close to actually having everything start to come together. All the welds are finished, and I just finished all of these. So next we got a jig in order to get these welded on. First rivet. I'm gonna end up looking just like that end right there. Nice and clean on the inside. We're using 5 32nd rivets, which is the size between 1/8 and 3/16 that I was using before. Doing that so the rivet head is slightly tighter, a little bit cleaner for the 2 boxes sliding into each other. And we did test one leg with 2 1/8" rivets instead of 4 5 32nd inch rivets, and it just bent the crap out of the piece of metal. It wasn't like a full box, it was just a test. Before it broke those rivets, it just destroyed everything. So there's 4 instead of 2, and they're a size up, so strength-wise, we're good to go. This hole, it looks a little bit oblong, right? So what this is 1/3 of this hole. Let me just get this. So from basically that point right there to that point right there, that is a 1/2 inch hole, and this is a 1/2 inch rod. From there back, it's a 9/16 inch hole. So you still get, if it was full of dust and debris and everything, you can still slide this in. There's lots of space, lots of movement. But the second you put the tiniest little bit of pressure, like just barely touch it, there's no rocking, there's no jiggling, there's nothing. Because this is a full exact diameter for 1/3 of it. And it just locks into that saddle really, really nice. Rather than just having what I did before, which would have been, you push it in this direction, still really nice, but there's a very slight rock until you actually put a decent amount of pressure in it. That's against the 9/16 hole, but if you press it this way against the 1/2 inch hole, it's just like completely locked, like does not want to move at all with very little pressure. So it's just a slight upgrade, but that's what I want to do every step along the way, constantly be improving. There you go. This is our hopper, shovel hopper retention system. So what you got, once you throw the carpet in there. So first the carpet, or I guess put it the same.
Empty them out.
Yeah. So 1/2 inch back miner's moss and 1/2 inch stainless steel screen. This was the last part of the Highbanker that was not stainless. I was just using some, I don't know, flat expanded steel stuff that would get all rusty. This is significantly durable, and it basically just sits here. Now the back, it tucks under something, and on the side you've got this guy right here. So that's a stainless steel piece that's tapped, this little wing bolt, and this will never be able to leave the sluice, because before these get sent out, this very end thread will be tacked so that you cannot unscrew this beyond a certain point. So there's no way that this is going to rattle out of the sluice ever. It's just there permanently. And then what you do is you just roll her in, and this is now completely locked, cannot raise up, cannot go down. She's good to go.
Don't mind me, I'm just welding. Homemade bandsaw.
This blade's it's not pull blade. I don't know why it's pushing up so hard.
I don't know, man. Maybe it needs oil on the blade. This is...
Well, it got stuck back here. It was like the corner here was like, eh.
I think it might be a opportunity to find a different way of doing it. Unless you can take a piece of wood that goes like right up to the blade and then clamp it to this, so you have like a flush. That could be all right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, neck's healing up good. Chris is just outside. He's going to be cutting some 12-inch strips by 48 of the grating. Each one of these took me about an hour to like weld, grind, sand. I've gone through a few iterations of figuring out how to try to do this more efficiently. It's tough to weld that stuff, but we've kind of got a bit of an assembly line going on here. So the next step is all of these guys right here, these little trays. Let's see if there's one assembled here. There we are. So this guy goes in there, and this tray, it comes in from the back side. It'll all make more sense when it's all together. There. Slots in here, and then you basically, there's a little thumb hole underneath that we use to push this up, and that just pulls right out of the way there. So I gotta make, I guess, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I gotta make 6 more of those trays, and then I'm gonna work on 12 of these, or 6 for the bottom, 6 for the top, because it's very slightly different. And hopefully end of the day tomorrow, we'll have this production run pretty much finished. Just waiting on the mats to show up and the remainder of the legs brackets. Here's all of our leg brackets. I bought 10 sets of these for like $325. The more I buy, the cheaper it gets. And that's where hopefully I can just, bite the bullet, assume people might want to buy some more of these legs. These legs have an 8-degree angle on them because my box is leaned out at 5 degrees. So I'm thinking of making between a 2 and a 3-degree lean out angle because you just want a very subtle lean. For example, this is how they would look if they had a 3-degree lean angle and your box was at 90 degrees, which I think is pretty good. So next time I do those, if I buy a whole bunch and just shell out like $1,000, then I can pass those savings on. But one step at a time, got to finish up all these boxes first. Doing trays. I've been doing trays all day long, and I'm going to be doing some more trays for a little while. But this is our hopper retention system. Chris is tapping that. And all of these are trays. Basically everything's welded up down the middle, and then afterwards we grind everything off the outside and turn them into riffle trays. They are taking me about 1 hour each just to weld. In hindsight, I'm like, man, the rubber mat would sure be nice, but up to this point, I've seen the best results on fine gold, like most gold at the end of the day with the miner's moss here. Seems to be the most forgiving. I haven't thoroughly tested everything in the market, so I don't know. But this is tried, tested, and true, and it's just annoying how hard it is to actually put together each riffle tray. So I can understand where spending $300 US on a single mat, $600 to outfit this with some rubber mats, it's appealing, but you can understand where some of the cost comes in sluice mats, I guess. This is the hopper fully assembled, and here is the stainless steel wear plate. Just unscrew this and everything pops out really, really easily. Nothing can be lost because these can never actually be fully screwed out. And what I'm doing right now is that stainless steel wear plate here, I'm actually going to weld just a little tack on the corners and one down the middle. This is extremely tough stuff. It's not like you're gonna peel a wire off the edge, but I kind of want to just make sure that doesn't happen. So I'm going above and beyond and making sure that I put a little tack weld every once in a while to make sure that the edge wire, when it gets beat up 10 years from now, doesn't end up peeling out the edge. The post goes a little bit short at 7 seconds. Watch this. See how it just changed? Here's that hopper retention screw for the mats. You just spin her on out, and then it doesn't come out any further. It's locked in place. So if I look at this side over here, screw it back in a little bit, and you can see I tack welded that little bit right at the very end of the threads, and that makes this a permanent fixture of the Highbanker that can never be lost. Simple, elegant, durable. Love it. Here we are in the final day before our camping testing trip. Getting the front part of the box here locked in. It's a plug weld right there. Just getting that all clamped up. Back here, the pin from the outside of the box goes through both of these holes and just locks everything into place. It actually works really, really, really well. And These things, of course, they cannot spin out and fall out because the threads are tacked on the inside. So it is just a very nice little elegant solution there. And just gotta weld it up, and then it's time to start packing for the trip. This is the big moment, everybody. The moment it becomes an utmost adventurer. Got a level on all four corners, just letting that glue dry. This is what makes it into the Highbanker. So, right on our center mark there. It's alive. This is it. This is the utmost adventurer. And that is the end of the shop section or the fabrication part of this video. I'm gonna say goodnight now, but we will throw in a clip at the end of this thing out at the river, just a brief teaser, and then there's gonna be a whole bunch more videos coming up going over all the fine details of this machine. So until next time, cheers, and thank you for watching.